Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
The sun peeks over the horizon. Your excitement builds. The animals in the field start to stir. The forest comes alive with sounds. The sunlight glimmers off the lake, and the mountains start to shed their morning fog. So load up your favorite ammo, grab a few buddies, and head out to make some memories. And tell the rest of the world that you've gone hunting. Gone Hunting is a 1 to 4 player game of family fun where you build a unique hunting ground, scout different animals, buy weapons and gear, and roll dice to hunt. Complete objectives and try not to miss. So let's load up the truck and back Gone Hunting today. See you in the
field. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Gomez.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Reality in Creating Comic Book. Today is episode 6, and we're going to be talking about cover pages, how to pick a cover artist, and how to choose what you're going to put on that beautiful front page to sell the books. The saying goes in comics that covers sell comics, and this is a saying that they say in the industry a lot, and you're going to hear it, especially if you're barely starting out. But this is definitely a true statement. This is going to be your cover, your first and probably the only thing that some of the customers are going to see, whether they just walk by or it's going to pull their interest in. And this is going to be your biggest selling point. So this is definitely one of the biggest key things that you want to decide on whenever you're making a comic. How do you decide on it? What kind of style are you going to put on it? I mean, there are so many iconic covers out there, and there's a lot of visual presence and a lot of different types of art. You really got to ask yourself what you want on this cover and what is going to portray to the customers. Today, we're going to be joined by special guest Gabriel Mangum, and he's going to be here in the midpoint of the episode to help us out with this. But I do want to start out with a lot of issues. I mean, there's definitely the cost of a cover artist, the expectations of covers. Are you going to get your interior artist to do a cover? And these are definitely some of the points that I want to cover. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead and drop them in, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. But really starting out, I wanted to talk about, what your cover is going to portray. There's a lot of covers out there that are homage covers, that are unique covers, and it's really one of those things that you need to figure out, or you need to talk to your cover artist about. So how do you pick a cover artist? Do you go out there and just find someone with art that's going to look beautiful, or are you going to find someone with a reputation? And this is a very key thing. One of the things that helps sell a comic is the reputation of the people that are on the book itself. If you're a new comic creator, you're probably going to start out without much of a reputation or an unknown. So one of the things I would advise is to find somebody out there that does have a name, so you can put it on your cover art and kind of help sell that book, kind of get it out there a little bit. Now, I found doing my Kickstarters, most of my cover artists really don't campaign for the books as much. And again, this is one of the things that we talked about in the last episode and a few episodes behind. Whenever you're hiring someone, make sure you ask them beforehand. Are you going to campaign? Are you going to be able to attribute something to the Kickstarter? How involved are you going to be? Now, these, I don't believe, should be a sticking point to not hire somebody, but it's one of those things that you need to understand going in. And again, whenever you're hiring somebody, pay to hire, it's kind of understood that you're paying them for that work and the understanding of everything that is going in whenever you go into that. So hiring a cover artist, whether they have a name or don't, you have to understand those expectations. If you hire somebody who's got a name, it's definitely going to sell the book. If you hire somebody who's up and coming, it's a little bit harder, but sometimes they help the campaign a little bit more. They push it a little bit more. So you get that trade-off. And of course, sometimes you might just go with an artist who has beautiful art, and you might understand, they're not going to help the campaign, but their art itself might sell that book or might help you sell that book a lot. So on my first issue, I kind of wanted to find artists who were a little bit established, but not like a presence in the big two, I guess you could say. I went with a few, including William Russell and Ariel Diaz and Ken Salinas, who were known a little bit more around my area, because that's where I figured my marketing was going to be. In my general metroplex and the state and whatnot. And with them having a foothold in some of the conventions, I felt like that was going to hit my target demographic. So whenever you're picking an artist, understand where they're based out, where they're going to. I was advised early on to kind of check out their media presence and kind of key that into a factor of hiring them as well. I never really did kind of take that into note, but I understand that some people do, and that's understandable. I know a lot of cover artists will go live on Facebook or, chat on Twitter a lot more. So their digital presence is a little bit more so than most. What direction are you going to go with your cover art? I mean, depending on the story, you definitely want something that's going to portray your story and be beautiful and pull the eye towards it. But there's several different types of styles. I mean, you can have the style of the interior come out to the cover and kind of sell it with the art that's inside. And that's one of the big key things. If you have a cover artist doing a cover, a lot of people kind of feel that they can relate if they see the cover artist on the interior artist doing a cover art, because they feel that the art that they're going to buy is not only there to on that first view, but also inside the book whenever they open it as well. So always keep in mind and consider having a cover interior artist be at least one of your cover artists. Now, having said one of your cover artists, I definitely want to get into variant covers. But before we do go into variant covers, again, I think the main thing about cover artists is knowing where their presence is, how much their presence is, and how much is going to contribute to your book. But mainly, their art. Is it the style that you want? Are you going to be able to give them the concept? Or are they going to want the freedom to design it themselves? These are questions that need to be asked before going into it, because some cover artists, and this goes for a lot of artists, some cover artists don't take directions as well. And so whenever you're building a concept, they might not understand it or feel comfortable with it. And so they'll throw different concepts at you. So you need to understand what you're looking for before you go into it, but also understand if that cover artist is going to be comfortable doing that. Especially whenever you get into the higher price cover artists is whenever that kind of gets into those little details. So talking about price point, I've heard a lot of people ask, how much is a cover art going to cost? Beginning at the very beginning of creating comics, I didn't know, and I didn't have a clue of how much it was going to cost. I didn't exactly even have a median of how much it was going to cost. So whenever I started asking for quotes, and I was kind of surprised at the different price ranges. I've had cover artists come ask me to do a cover art for free just to be on the book, but I've also have cover artists tell me they were going to charge about $1,000 to $2,000 for one cover art, and it really depends on their name and their art as to what they're going to charge. I would say a good price point at a beginning rate for a cover artist is about $300 if they don't really have a name. Whenever you start to get into a name, then you're going to start going up to divisions of 100, and depending on what they're going to do for that cover as well. One of the things that you want to put into consideration at that point is are they going to color it? Are they going to send it to somebody else to color it? Is that person going to have a name as well? Because some cover artists do it all. And again, some cover artists are aligned with colorists who are going to be able to complement their lines. And usually all this factors into the price point. Again, whenever you're asking them, make sure you know what that answer is. Do you do the line art? Do you do the inking? Do you do the coloring? Is this all in one price? The main thing to consider is your budget and how much you have, how much you're willing to spend, and how much help you're going to need promoting it. Because if you don't need that much help promoting it, you can get a lower tier artist, but you're going to have to be promoting it yourself a little bit more. Whenever you have someone who's a little bit more named and concrete into the business, they'll understand kind of where and how to push it more than you would. So those are definitely key factors. So having talked about price point and style, I wanted to talk about variant covers. Me, myself, personally, I always preferred one cover for one comic. I was kind of an older comic collector, and the variant covers really didn't come in until, I guess, the midpoint of my collections and whatnot. And I kind of felt that it oversaturated the market whenever they started coming in with so many different unique items and variant covers. So whenever I came into comic creating, I originally was going to just do one comic, one cover. But I started asking customers, and I started checking out the market, and I did my research. And I've told people this once 100 times. If you're trying to do research, put on YouTube in the background, put in whatever you're looking for, whether it's creating a comic, whether it's finding cover art, whether it's any of those subjects, and just let YouTube run while you're learning this stuff. So I asked a lot of people what they liked about comic book collecting, and a lot of them happened to come back saying that they liked variant covers. So even though it wasn't my style to buy many variant covers, I also had a kid that was barely getting into comics, and he loved some of the variant covers. He actually preferred them as opposed to some of the A covers, which I understand. They're beautiful. Variant covers are definitely made to sell and usually have a more stable name artist to kind of sell that unique cover. So having put that all into perspective, all my comics do have variant covers. I try to do 3 for at the very least. And on one of my comics, I got 6 variant covers. Now, the reason I did 6 variant covers is because I dedicated each cover to one of my children. I don't recommend doing 6 variant covers. And the reason for that is not only are you going to have to pay for 6 cover art, and whether that's 6 artists or 1 artist, that's going to be 6 payments right there. Then you're going to have to print those separate covers. And you got to understand, whenever you're printing different covers, it's going to be a different cost. Sometimes if you go to certain printers, they're going to want a medium print run. and that includes with the covers. So if you have 6 covers, you might have to do 600 print run, and whether you're going to sell 600 or not is kind of a key factor in there as well whenever you're printing them out. I originally I was doing foil covers for all my covers, but the price point of those went kind of a lot higher than I expected. So I kind of cut down my foil covers to 2 because I didn't want to hit that minimum of those foils and them not sell, them just sit on the table for a while. These are one of the things that you really don't know going in, which covers are going to sell and which aren't. You might have a beautiful cover that you believe and in your heart's going to be the one that sells the most. But whenever you get out there to conventions or whenever you're pushing it at comic stores, it might not be the one that actually sells. And this has been the case with mine. My original A cover for my first book, I thought was going to just leap off the page, and it did. It sold plenty, but I don't want it. It didn't sell the most. I mean, the price point on my A covers, I try to keep a little bit lower than most. So I think that's definitely one of the factors that helped that A cover sell. But I was shocked that my variant cover was actually my highest selling cover of all my comics. And this wasn't exactly something I expected. It was a pleasant surprise. And then going forward on my second book, again, I had 6 covers, and the one that I thought that was going to sell the most was the girl pinup. And you kind of expect the pinups to sell a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying it didn't have good numbers, and it still does. But the funny thing about that comic is that the cover that sells the most is the most unique one that I had. And it was kind of the variant cover that I wanted to do for my youngest child. So it was kind of a little more playful than the rest. And that happened to be the one that sold the most out of that one, with possible the exception of the cover A, because it was at a lower cost. So whenever you're factoring in variant covers, you have to understand a few different things. You never know which one's going to sell the most. So you got to remember your price point and how many you're going to be printing. If you have 2 covers, you're only going to probably have to run about 200 or so. It really depends on your printer. They usually have minimums. I got in with a good printer, and my minimums are decently low, but which has helped me a lot. But that's definitely one of the things that you need to get into whenever you start printing. How many is a minimum that you have to run, and is it going to be an additional cost per cover? Because whenever you start hiring cover artists, you don't really think about that print run, and these are definitely things that kind of hit creators as they go. All right, and so now we're going to bring in our special guest, Gabriel Mangum. What's
Mangum.
happening?
It's Mangum.
Hey, so real quick, guys, I actually can't hear anybody on my end. I can just barely hear you. Can you try saying something real quick to me?
Yeah, I can definitely say something. How's it going?
It is going. Let me see if I can leave real quick and then pop back in because I can't hear anything.
Sure, no problem. Dun, dun, dun. Technical difficulties. It's okay. It happens in this day of age, especially in technology. But yeah, variant covers, you're definitely going to have to pay for each cover. Make sure you understand that going in. So don't go out getting 12, 13 different covers and not expect that print run to kind of hit you in the backside.
All right, there we go.
All
now
right.
I can hear you. So I don't know what the hell happened there, but we're good. We're live.
It's all right. It was probably Chrome. All right. So how you doing today?
Dude, I'm exhausted, man. I'm tired. I got to crack open a cold one right here on stream. I hope
There
that's
you go.
okay.
All
I'm doing
right.
good, man. How are you?
Good, doing good. I was explaining to people about different cover arts. I was talking about variant covers and the cost per cover. Sometimes whenever you have a number of covers, you have to have a minimum for each cover, and each one costs different whenever you go into the printing and stuff. So I was kind of explaining that as well. But, I really wanted to talk about the different styles of art and having a cover artist, how you approach things. Do you ask for concepts? Do you like to make the concepts yourself? Which do you prefer?
So it really depends on what I'm working on. For instance, there's everything from licensed properties, which I worked on the Hatchet series. So there's kind of a set of guidelines that you have to follow depending on the subject matter. And of course, you always need to be doing something that pertains to the particular book or character that you're involved in.
Right.
Independent projects or certain characters definitely give you more freedom as an artist than others. Like, for instance, when I was drawing Victor Crowley in the Hatchet series, everything had to go through Adam Green for final licensing approval and all that good stuff. So there was a set of parameters that we had to follow. And so that wasn't something that you could really experiment on in the same way. Like if I wanted to try out a new style on, some independent book or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And this is what I want to explain to new creators. As a new creator, I usually have a concept going into all my cover artists, with the exception of a few. I know with you, I kind of gave you gravitas and let you go with what you wanted on my book. And I think I only did that with about 2, maybe 3 of the artists. But I found giving the concept to the artist kind of usually helped them out starting off. But there were some artists that were kind of that pushed back a little bit on that. So that's one of the things I wanted to tell new creators. It's good to have a concept. It's good to go in with something. Usually I try to have at least 3 different things before I pick a cover artist and say, hey, these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. Can we make it along those lines? But again, if you have someone seasoned, they can kind of experiment and pull things out that you don't expect, like whatever you were on my cover art. Having that gorilla in there was great, and you wanted something that was definitely inside the pages that could pull that customer's view in.
Well, and that's something that's important for me as far as cover design and layouts go. And this should actually be important to all artists for that matter. That generally speaking, if you're doing a mainline cover variant, it needs to be relevant to the book. Right. You know what I mean? You can't do something that doesn't happen on the inside of the book unless it's supposed to be some kind of explicit twist or just a focus on one character. Right. So like, for instance, for your Bushi cover, I hit you up. I'm like, hey, don't tell me everything that's going on, but can you at least give me an idea of what's going on so I don't do the wrong thing? Because the last thing I want to do is fuck up your story by giving you a really cool looking but inaccurate cover. You know what I mean? Because that happens all the time where someone draws a cover, say, where the character depicted isn't doing what that character would do or what that character would do in the issue. And it's misleading, for one, but it also doesn't show it shows a lack of unity between the team. It's like everybody's thinking on different terms and nobody's really in line communicating. So that's another reason why you, of course, want your covers to have some kind of synergy with the book. And sometimes you have to give that level of direction to somebody. Again, it just depends on who you're working with and what they're working on, quite frankly,
Now, yeah, I mean, definitely. So I was talking about price point, and I know this is one of the things that a lot of people kind of avoided whenever I first came in. Different artists have different price points. And one of the unique things that I found in cover artists, and I don't know if you do it, but I know a lot of artists out there do it, is they'll charge a certain price to like retailers or the bigger medians as opposed to the independent artists where they kind of give them a price break. Now, I don't know if that's like a trade secret out there, but this is definitely something that I kind of wanted to tell new creators because it does help out a little bit.
No, absolutely. So kind of an unspoken but totally spoken cardinal rule, and a lot of guys don't get told this anymore, is you got to help the people that help you creatively. You're not going to get any work if you don't, 1, put it out there, 2, go for it, but 3, work with it. People ask for opportunities all day long, but when it comes around, they're not willing to work with what they've got because they have too many demands. And ultimately, you need to pick your lane as far as, do you want work or do you want pride? And it's kind of a loaded statement, But what I mean by that is, like you said, the independent guys, they need to get better rates because they're working on shoestring budgets sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes you do things as favors, it kind of depends on the project or how you're rolling at the time or who the guy is. Stuff like pinups, for instance. I've always been raised, and a lot of guys before me were raised with pinups are generally free. And that's going to be a controversial statement. But pinups, generally you hook up if you're an artist and you do that as a favor because you're helping somebody with their book and you're helping trudge it along and you're going to get copies of the book. And then you always have that collab later. You could have that creator come back and do something for you. That's a pinup or a cover or whatever. There's just certain things that you just do as a creator versus what you wouldn't do. Now,
You said one word in there that I kind of want to focus on a little bit, which was favor. Now, I told people that basically I've had some artists come to me and ask to do a cover on some of my books for free just to do the cover art. And I can't stress this enough to new creators. Pay your artists. Pay your cover artists, pay your interior artists, pay your artists. If you can't afford it, then find a different way to pay them. Now, with my cover artists, I've noticed a lot of them ask for comps. Now, this was something new to me, but I've always preferred to at least pay a minimum rate of $100 for cover, and then comps on top of that if a cover artist was coming and asking me for a free job. Now, again, like I say, pay your artists, pay your cover art. Nobody's doing this for free because everybody's got to eat. So you got to pay at least something.
What I found.
Hey, there's some cheap art I have for grabs, guys.
That looks amazing. Yeah.
God, what I have on that, like $30. I'll do a show special of like 25 if I don't already have it there already.
I'm going to spin through that whole post. I'm going to show all that art while you guys are talking. So
Oh, that's awesome.
all,
Yeah.
you guys know this is all for sale.
Just so you know, that's not exactly the cream of the crop stuff.
Oh, I see you had a post. It says right on the post, you pulled some stuff out of the old sketch, that you just want to get rid of. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll show it off, man.
Let's clear it out.
And this brings up another topic of mine is make sure that you're previewing your cover artist's art. One of the things that I can't stress enough is before you hire a cover artist, make sure you look at some samples of their art. This is beautiful stuff. And I know before I hired you, I definitely checked out tons of your pieces. Beautiful, beautiful art. And I definitely knew that you were definitely right for my comic, especially, Bushibu, because I felt that your art kind of portrayed that a little bit more than, say, my PTSD, but your art just fit in as well.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That definitely means a lot to me.
But yeah, I mean, if you're picking a cover artist, go out there, check out their art. Every cover artist I've had on my book, I at least studied their art for at least 2 or 3 days to make sure that it felt comfortable with me and that it would be comfortable with the subject matter. There's a lot of brand new creators out there that do rush into this stuff. They do rush into the cover artists. They do rush into, all their interior artists. And like I was telling my last guest, Sam, we were talking about interior artists. I didn't know that there were so many different styles of art. And I figured I could just give an artist what I wanted and they could just do it. And that's one of the things I didn't know as a new creator. Let me ask you, do you find how much difference between doing a cover art as opposed to something that's an interior artist?
What do you mean?
I mean, how much? I mean, you can see the difference between paneling and doing like cover art, right?
Yeah. Are you saying how do I approach that differently, or if there's a noticeable shift in my personal work when I do one or the other?
Well, I mean, how would you explain to somebody if they were to ask you to come do a cover piece, and then possibly to like question you about your cover, your interior art as well. Because, you know, whenever I first started, I figured I could just take it to one artist, and I kind of was quickly told otherwise, that it couldn't be one artist all the way through, because those panelings are a little bit different than a pinup as per se.
No, it can absolutely be the same guy. A lot of guys maybe aren't comfortable drawing interiors,
Right.
and that's an interesting area of discussion that I won't get into. I might have some strong opinions about that, but the thing is, if you're in comics, you should be able to draw pages to some degree, and everybody has bad pages.
Yeah.
But the thing about doing pages is it's definitely more carefully calculated. You have to plan your pages out a certain way. You need to make sure that you do your breakdowns, your layouts, and you finalize everything to a area where you can be happy with it overall. But two, you can't spend too much time on interior pages, and because it's a production, you have to be rolling. So like I'm working on a creator-owned book right now. I am 22 pages into this. I started early September, because I'm doing this on top of my full-time job also. So, you know, I get home and I do pages. So I'm 22 pages in. I'm still 10 away from finishing it. And the cover work and pinup work is a little bit more detailed than the interiors, but the interiors are designed to flow.
Right.
It's supposed to be a story that you're telling. So without giving away any vital information, this isn't my favorite page per se, but this is just a preview of one of the pages that I did the other day. So there's like something like that, where that's just a page that I needed to finish in a day.
Now, could you hold that one up one more time and kind of go slow from the top down to the bottom? If you're looking at this, you can see the storytelling, and that's one of the things you're talking about, the panel progression. You can see the stories actually flowing out without even the words being on it. You can kind of tell. This is one of the things that most creators, I don't think, understand, is that storytelling aspect of the panels and how they flow, and how different that is than most like cover artists are used to. Because a lot of cover artists just refuse to do interior art, and they just draw those beautiful panel pages, which is their choice. But
now let me give you a preview real quick, not to cut you off, but let me compare that in contrast to a cover image that I have for this particular project.
Oh, wow.
So that's a cover right there, which I might be sending something to print on Friday. Just a nice cheeky little hint there. But that's the difference in me personally. But this is also my creator-owned book, so I'm able to flow better with this and really put certain energy into it that might be harder to do for someone else's project. And that's another thing with guys that maybe don't do this full time, is if their heart's not necessarily in it, they might not be able to churn you out the best product.
And we talked about that the last issue as well. Whenever you're finding an artist, make sure that they're in. Ask them if they like the genre. Ask them if they like the story. Let them know. I know whenever I approached you, I gave you a book so you could kind of see what the story was about before even hiring you.
Well, yeah, because it's tough hopping into something blindly without knowing the subject material. And I'm glad that you had a physical book to actually show that with.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of times where I've gotten like PDFs of stuff. I like printed materials, man. I don't like sitting here flipping through my dying phone trying to get a feel for what's going on. I like a physical book because it's proof of a product and it's proof of an idea and a dream. And you have a really good presentation with your book. I really enjoyed the quality of it. It set itself apart from a lot of other independent productions that I've seen recently.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, these are the things that you really got to key on is kind of understanding what your cover is, what it's going to be, and who's drawing it. Because if they don't have the heart that you have to put onto that cover page, how are you going to sell this product? How are you going to sell what they're putting on that page if they don't believe in it, you don't believe in it? So it's like you've got to find the right cover artists. And that's definitely what I was trying to do on all of my covers, especially with this last one, which was my second issue of Bushibu. I wanted to find a little bit I don't want to say newer artists, because you've been in the industry for a while, right?
Oh yeah.
But it was really the newer artist to me.
So
Yeah.
Just for everybody watching at home, there's Paul's cover that he keeps referring to. That's the nice original.
That's
had some beautiful Dave Kemp colors on that.
Yeah.
Well, they zoomed in on me. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. That is one beautiful piece right there.
There's something else that I can't really show on the other side because I don't know if it'll see print or not.
Yeah.
Look, that's the one I got. Look, I got the wraparound from your dad on the one that we just opened the other day, right? But I did order your cover of that book, Bushy Boo 2. Just so you know, Gabriel, I will have a father-son set framed on my wall. I will. I promise you. You know, it just took a minute to get them both. But yeah, then I got to go find that trade.
You might actually have to find it. I don't think I have any more copies, to be honest. I think I went through my last one at an Oklahoma show.
No, we'll find one. I will find one. I'll be
Pops, that means I got to see your name on the backer list for my upcoming book.
Well, you know what's up. We will promote the hell out of it. Hopefully, you'll let us launch it on the madness.
Well, and I would also just like to preemptively state that my book will be a little bit cheaper than some of the other guys running independent operations.
See,
that's awesome. Yeah.
You can't.
Do we got a name for this project yet?
I won't say it until I send it to the printer.
That's
it looks good so far. From what I saw, yeah.
I'm sending a preview book to the printer on Friday, and I'm almost done with the first issue.
Oh, wow.
So I've just kind of been doing this behind closed doors,
right?
Teasing it here and there. I know you've seen a few of these. But yeah, it's a bad girl book. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Can't wait, man. Can't wait.
It Bad Girl from the anthology?
No.
Bad Girl?
It is my IP entirely.
Dude's got IPs. Dude's got bad girls all over the place. Watch out for Watch out for this guy. And you know me, I'll be promoting you and your dad for as long as I'm alive, brother. You know what's up. I'm out.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, really trying to tell those new creators kind of the ins and outs of getting into those new books. And when we're talking about cover art, this is one of the things that I say, everybody in the industry says covers sell comics.
They do.
So it's hard to tell that to a new creator and make them understand that that's really that first, view into their comic that everybody's going to see.
That's not to say, though, I think a lot of guys focus too much on trying to be a nice, flashy cover artist.
Right.
I think a lot of emerging talent really needs to focus on doing interiors to some degree. Yeah. That is something that's quickly dying out. A lot of people, like I said, simply refuse to do interiors. They need to.
Yeah.
that is the plain and simple of it. If you're in comics, you need to do some degree of interiors. And a lot of people will probably disagree with me when I say that. They'll probably say that's brash. They'll probably say that's unprofessional to say, but no, it's simply true. And that's because I've been told that, not just by my 20-year comic book pro, Andrew Mangum, my father, but that's what other industry pros have told me, is that if you're in the comic book game, you need to draw pages.
Yes.
So,
pages are what drives the medium. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty new into the whole industry and whatnot, but from what I've seen and heard and understand from what people are looking for, especially in the bigger industries or bigger names, they're looking for an all-around package, somebody who can draw, the cover, the interiors, and have an IP along with that. They really kind of gravitate towards those people. So whenever you're talking about people who can't do interiors and that do just gravitate towards those cover arts, I understand that a lot of the publishers, I guess, kind of overlook the people who are just doing the flashy covers. So I mean, definitely, it just seems like a lot of people avoid the interiors.
They do, and it's because they're hard. That's the plain and simple. They're fucking difficult, man. Because you have to adapt if you're not doing your own thing, you have to adapt a script, which involves a lot of reading, and involves a lot of rereading, and then it involves breaking down each page of the script. And hopefully you're working with a writer that offers you a little bit of creative freedom in that department, because it's really hard to draw word for word. And a lot of writers don't get that either. And it's that you have to allow a certain level of artistic expression for the work to really flow between the words to the art itself. Too many writers are like, no, this is how it's gonna be, but it's like, you're not an artist, you're not a storyteller, so we need to work as a team to make this actually look proper. If we do it your way, it's going to be boring.
And I covered this whenever we did an episode about script writing. It's really important to understand how your artist is and communicate with your artist, but also not be tying them down to so much. I remember whenever I was studying scripts for the first time, I had a great Eisner Award-winning editor who basically told me, go look at these scripts, look at the differences. And then there was a Moore script, and there was his script, and his script was very simplistic, which a Moore script was kind of very detailed.
Yep.
So it was like, you got to find a happy medium in between there, because you need to give that artist a little bit of more freedom, but also keep your script to what you wanted as well. So I've learned, especially working with my interior artist on my other 3 books, San Espina, me and him have communicated so well that whenever I wrote the latest script that he has, it's kind of, I knew where to loosely base it and where to kind of rein it in, because I knew his art, his style. So it's one of those things that you need to communicate with people, especially cover artists as well. Some cover artists are going to give you something big and flashy, but are they going to give you what's actually in the book? This is one of the things that you don't consider.
Say, Paul.
Yeah, you're looking for relevance, and you're looking for synergy, and some guys don't get that.
The reason I jumped in here is because I think the interior artist should do the A cover of every book.
I would actually have to agree with that. It's their books, so I think they would get top billing, and then that would be then the cover B should be your second tier talent.
Yeah,
or at least your top tier guy.
That's just always been it's like, that's you got the variants, you got that other stuff where you're up the price or whatever, but your A cover guy, the guy that did the work, the guy that's selling the book on the inside, should get that A cover.
Yeah.
I've always been of that opinion. So,
I half agree and half don't. And the only reason I don't agree is because, man, those interior covers seem to be so much more beautiful. And you don't want, I try to put my A cover as my lowest price point, and I don't want to put those as my lowest. So that's the only reason I don't agree with it.
Well, see, the reason now you just proved my point, though. Because now you lowered the price point on your A cover, so that's the one people are going to buy the most of.
Yeah.
Give that interior artist that freaking cover.
Yeah,
from a business perspective, that's called being a loss leader, and it's where you sell something at a loss just to gain the audience.
Right. I hear that. I understand that.
And that's something a lot of people don't grasp, is that sometimes you have to take a hit to gain an audience, or just to make it happen.
Yeah, well, you got
too many guys, and you want to make money naturally.
Yeah,
but if you're here for the art, you're here for the art. Money will come later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right now, you're selling your product. Okay, eventually the product snowballs. It goes downhill. If it's a good product, eventually you're going to have more and more and more people getting on, and that's why I want that interior guy to get that credibility on that A cover. I'm not taking away from all the other guys who get paid to draw one piece of art, but that guy who drew the whole freaking book, give him a cover, the A cover.
I could definitely understand that. And like I said, I've always tried to get my interiors to do a cover. I think I missed out on one of my books, and it was just kind of simply something I overlooked. That was the only book that my first Bushibu book was the only cover that I didn't have an interior artist do a cover. And I kind of felt bad afterwards, but they did a cover for the second book, which I thought was great. And all my other books had my interior artist doing covers. So it's definitely one of the things I do want to tell people, make sure you get that interior artist a cover art, because they are the workhorse of it and kind of the backbone of the book itself. So let me ask you, I obviously you're an artist and you can do your own cover art, but let's say you weren't an artist and couldn't do your own cover art. Would you hire somebody with a big name, or would you hire someone lower? And why is that?
So you always have to go with a credible name. That's the thing. Most low budget movies still at least try to go for a Steven Seagal because it's a recognizable name. You need someone to kind of carry your ship just a little bit to get in some fans. And so you're always going to want to hire someone who has just a tad more experience than you, if not way more experience, if you can afford them.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I wouldn't give the other guy no chance. It just means that I would focus more of my effort on getting that top tier guy, or at least that experienced guy, because it gives you some kind of level of legitimacy that you wouldn't otherwise have if it was a fully 100% rookie operation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thankfully, I am blessed with the ability to do my own work, but that's not to be said that I'm not getting a lot of really cool guests to do some stuff for this book that I'm doing. I've already got, already got 3 really good pinups that are coming up. So 2 of those, well, actually, sorry, I've got 4. One of them's inked over me, so it's going to be a really cool jam. One of them's from an independent guy that you'll know for sure. But I can't wait to announce that one further. Another one's from another independent guy who's done some store exclusive covers, who I've been a fan of and a friend of for a long time. And then another one's actually from a guy in a higher profile area of the independent zone, who I'm a big fan of their work. And my dad's actually going to ink what they're doing. And maybe I'll have a really, really, really cool guest cover.
That's awesome. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Okay, so finding a cover artist. What would you be your biggest recommendations? Because I personally think going to conventions and talking to people is probably the best way.
Man, dude, that's a really broad question, and it's a really broad answer. Because conventions, of course, it's a great way. Because I like to meet people. I like to, honestly, man, like I like handshakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a big handshake guy, and what pisses me off is when I don't get a good handshake. I always hate when people like grass spin too quickly and they give me that like bitchy handshake. Then it looks like I'm giving the bitchy handshake. Like don't close until you connect, guys. Come on. Like we all gotta get better at our handshake game. But I like, a nice firm handshake from a dude and a hey, how are you? I'm so and so. I do this and I would like you to do this. Would you be interested? That's of course a really great direct personal way to do things. But, with the advent of social media, you have literally thousands of people at your disposal. You have thousands of opportunities. And what's the worst thing they can say? No.
No. Exactly.
The worst thing they can say is no, or they're out of your budget. And then you just roll to the next guy.
And the thing is, whenever I started, I kind of had delusions of grandeur, and I went out there and I emailed like my top 10 cover artists that I really wanted. And the funny thing about it is I got a reply from just about half of them. One of them, we actually had conversations to the point was, I charge about $2,000 for cover, and I was like, okay, let's do it.
But you don't have to tell me on stream, but I would like to know who they are.
I'll tell you later. But, it kind of broke down a little bit afterwards because of his timeline and because of what he was doing and stuff and kind of when that book was coming out. But it was, it really was amazing to me because I was new to the industry. So to think that I had sent an email to like 1 or 2 artists that I thought were like greats in the industry, and them even text or message me back is just a testament to the fact that all you have to do is message them.
You really do.
Email them, direct message them, just send them something. You're probably going to hear something back from people. But I personally like conventions because, like you said, you get to meet the person, you get to see their art just sitting right there on the table, and you can just flip through it and just see and feel if it's going to match up with what you want.
Well,
so I love that.
When we formally met too at Fan Expo this past year, you were able to hand me a copy of your book right there, so I immediately knew you were real.
Yeah,
I'd like to point that out. A lot of guys are dreamers out there, and like, hey, I have the project, but they don't have any proof that it's actually going to happen. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I'm actually printing a preview book to begin with for my book, is so that way when I do go to guys in the future and I ask for certain guest covers or legend covers, let's just put it that way, that there's at least proof that I'm going to be printing something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if my body of work doesn't speak for me, that proof of concept will.
Yeah, and I think it holds a lot of weight. You know, before I printed my first book, I actually printed ash cans of my first 2 books. So I took them to comic stores and I took them to people and I said, these are my books. These are, you know, the first 8 pages of these books. And it helped me get into a lot of the comic book stores. It helped me sell them whenever I did get my books. And it helped me, you know, with the community and artists, like you mentioned. Also, the fact, you know, that I've done about 4 comics now, or releasing my 4th comic, it's kind of helped me whenever I've gone into those conversations. And like I said, I've had artists actually approach me and say, hey, I want to do a cover. I'll do it for free. Now, and again, I'm going to always stress this. Make sure you're paying all your artists. Make sure you're paying all your collab. Make sure you're paying everybody who's on your team, because nobody eats for free. Everyone's gotta make a living. If somebody's trying to get a step out there, I understand that. Work with them. You know, again, I've always said I was going to at least pay $100 and then comps on top of that, and I felt like that's the very least. And in most of my cases, it's been a little bit more than that. But I've always tried to definitely comp my artists and give them, you know, if I had a foil of their cover, I try to give them a few foils, and I try to give them, you know, a little bit more than what they expect, because if they're doing such a great work for you, they're representing your book. They're doing that cover art. This is something you're selling. Of course, you paid for, but giving them that little extra helps them understand that you appreciate them. And so whether it's your cover artist, your interior artist, make sure you're there for them in every way that you can be.
That, you know, you said that very well. And that's exactly the thing. Like I said, you know, like some 15 minutes ago, you want to take care of the guys that take care of you, even if that's with comps. Sometimes all guys can do is comps, but comps are a great thing because, one, for you, that's free promotion.
Yeah.
It's free promotion for you for whenever your other artist goes to events. You know, a few dozen people might not know who the fuck you are, but now they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All because you gave them comps. And some guys are really fucking stingy with comps. And it's kind of sad on the independent end. I know that shit costs money, but, you know, you at least want to start with a bracket of 8. You know what I mean?
And I've heard,
independent book.
I've heard the reasoning. I've heard the reasoning. I don't understand it personally. Most of the time you hear creators say that they don't give comps because they're not going to make the money off of it. But the thing about it is, if you're on somebody else's table at a different con or, you know, at a book signing, that is free promotion.
Yep.
Me personally, I've always, even at conventions where my cover arts are there, I want to give them a book so they can have it there. One of the great things that I try to do, I try to make sure to tell anyone, if there's a cover artist at that same convention, look, you're not only going to be able to get my signature, but you could take it over there. Go check out their art. They're the cover artist who did this cover. Yep. Check out their art while you're there and get their signature.
Cross promotion.
Yeah. I mean, I've literally walked customers to my cover artist tables a few times and introduced them, because I felt like if I gave my cover artist that kind of attention, you know, just to bring them a customer and show their art off, that next time if I need them, and I've tried not to do the same cover artist on you know, multiple covers right now because I'm early on, but next time if I need them, then they'll know and understand how I am, where I'm coming from, and that I do throw in that extra little bit of something. I know some creators, like you said, they're stingy with their comps because they want to make that money, but if they're getting known, then that next issue is going to sell a little bit better.
Now, and something I will point out too, is there are a lot of stingy creators that are stingy with comps for free material. And that is where a lot of guys really are going to piss off their artists. And that's really where you come off as unprofessional and greedy. And again, I get shoestring budget. I really, 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 really do. I can't stress that enough. I get budgeting. But if you're asking someone to do something and they're willing to do it for free just to give you the work, and you can't afford to give them $40 worth of printed material that's free advertising, one, it's going to cost you less to give them a stack of books than it will be to pay them their fee. Let's be real. And if you can't do that, why are you in this game?
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what
I mean, because it does cost money to get out there. Yep. I know starting out, I figured starting out that I was going to take a loss.
Yes,
I figured, I was going to hit the red. Now, actually, I kind of did a little bit better than most because I sold a lot of PTSD, but it was one of those things that was kind of understood. You're going to start a new business. Usually you have to expect to take a loss, no matter what it is. So it's like,
instance, Friday, I'm going to drop over $250 on preview books.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting to make that back.
Yeah.
But that's so that way there is material there, it's promotion, and it's proof of concept. Yeah. That's, if I make that money back, cool. But again, I have the luxury and the ability to do something for a full-time job and then do my own shit on the side and then other people's shit on the side of that.
Yeah.
And not a lot of other guys are blessed in that way, or at least able to do that. You know what I mean? It's kind of a pick a lane kind of a situation. Sometimes you either want to do this full time or you do this with everything else and you see how much you can balance. But, after I print this book, right, I'm going to immediately start paying my colorist to color the so far 22 pages of material. That's going to be a loss until I start this campaign. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with that because that's what I went into this to do, is to produce a book. I'm not going to get this far and then not produce it. If I don't make my money back, I don't make my money back, and that's okay. I just roll into issue 2. You know what I mean? No harm, no foul. Too many guys, they're like, oh, I'm all about the art and the creation and this, that, and the other. And then they're like, I couldn't do it because, I lost too much money. And it's maybe you got a little too ambitious with it.
Yeah. The hardest thing about comics is selling it.
You do. Well, and the thing is, you need to know your limits as a creator too, because you as an individual can only do so much, be it you're a writer or an artist. As far as being an independently operating creator, it's easier to be an artist because you can do everything at your leisure. You can write if you need to at a leisurely pace, or you can bring someone in to write for you. And then after that, it's just kind of paying to get everything produced or waiting till you just start funding to produce. Like one thing I'm doing is I'm going to get at least 90% of the production done before I launch the campaign.
Yeah.
So that way it minimizes wait times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gonna launch the book, and then while the campaign's going, finish the rest of the book, and then print.
Yeah.
Then at that point, I'll be fulfilling everything myself. So if there's a fucking delay, it's on me.
Yeah.
Anybody else but me.
I usually try to
take responsibility of your book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I usually try to get about 75% of it done before I hit that Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
With my first book, I had it completely done before I hit my campaign. This last book, I had about 75 done. Once the campaign was done, my last pages were coming in. I'm actually going to print today. And my campaign ended September, the 1st, 2nd of September, somewhere around there. So, 30-day period is really not that far. A lot of people, a lot of people don't even have that half of it done by that time. And that's to me one of those things that I try to tell people. Make sure you've got it going. Make sure you got it halfway, 75% done, if not all the way done, because usually making comics is kind of dealing with the chaos kind of thing. And if you got it mostly done at that point, then you're ahead of the game at that end of the campaign.
Well, and you need to be. Proactivity is the best thing you can be in this business. I wouldn't recommend to anybody launching jack shit as far as on the creator end goes until you finish most of your book.
Right.
Because then you just look like a false promise.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't want to take everybody's money and then an undetermined amount of time goes by and then you deliver it, especially if you're new. Right. This isn't to be said about other vets because, well, they're doing other things and they deliver a certain quality of work that you would expect the wait time for. But new guys that want to get in, build some kind of name or reputation, you definitely don't want to tarnish that by running a certain campaign and then taking forever to deliver the book.
Right.
You know, because that's going to get frustrating on the audience's end. And it gets frustrating to your contracted hands also, because your contracted hands, your artists, your cover artists, they're going to be promoting this book naturally. And they're going to be showing it to their audience. And if their audience is like, well, hey, man, we backed the last 3 things you asked us to back, and we don't have them in hand. Now they don't have a reason to back your current project because it seems like you're also a part of this waiting game. So
Yes.
by giving an audience such a large waiting time, you're actually hurting everybody involved.
Right.
Which, again, there's a lot of factors involved to that, and it's not so cut and dry. But there are times where it is just simply dragging a feet or somebody biting off more than they can chew, you know. And so that's something to consider deeply if you're a new guy getting into this, is don't put one foot forward over the other too quickly, because you will fucking trip on yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You
definitely.
know.
Like I've always said, you know, the comics game is solving problems most of the steps.
Absolutely.
And if you have it all done by the time you hit the campaign, or mostly done, then you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to talk about is the covers and going into the campaign. So I've had a lot of people tell me not to have my cover artists until I have most of my interior done, or until I'm like right there on the beginning of that campaign. But me personally, I prefer to have that cover art done as fast as possible.
That's entirely up to you. There's no right fucking answer about that, but you need to have that shit done before the campaign, because nothing is worse than when there's a coming soon on your campaign.
Coming soon,
You
right?
should not have any fucking coming soons. If you are advertising a product, the most disclaimer you should put on there is actual product may vary. You know, maybe the colors are a little bit different or something, or there's a slight tweak. You
Or
should
title's gonna
never
change.
have a fucking blank slot that says coming soon.
Right.
If
Or,
you're advertising it for sale, you need to
Yeah.
show the customer or the fan what exactly they're going to be getting, because otherwise you're kind of deceiving them, quite frankly. So
Or it's just not going to sell.
Yeah, or it's not going to sell. And then, you know, so-and-so looks like a lost cause, which sucks. So like, for instance, for my book that I'm doing right now, I have 2 covers that I need to still try and lock in, but I'm not looking at launching this anytime soon.
Yeah.
That way I can get all of that shit done before I even advertise that I have it going on. But my covers are done. You know what I mean? Because that's the easy part. But you can get that shit done at the beginning of your book, middle of the book. I mean, sometimes at the beginning of the book, it's nice to, maybe if you're getting other artists involved, to have some kind of an image to show them, like, hey, here's the finished product. Right. So, for instance, when I was pitching my character to other guys, I already had my preview book cover colored with the logo, so I could show them exactly what this character is going to look like in print. And they're like, oh, that's fucking cool. I'd like to be involved. I'm like, cool, you know, and then we go from there.
So one of the things I tell people, especially new creators, is have a list of questions whenever you're hiring someone, especially a cover artist. You know, what's the timeline going to be? How much is it going to cost? And kind of one of the main questions I like to ask is, you know, is there anything that you're going to be able to attribute to the Kickstarter? You know, sometimes artists kind of throw sketchbooks in or do blank sketches or sketches on blank covers for your Kickstarter that help out. But it's like also one of the things that I really don't mention, and I feel like I should, because I've always been told not to ask, and I don't know if this is right or not.
Yeah, ask it.
Someone's always said, you know, don't talk about original art right away. Don't ask the cover artist about original art. That's an offensive kind of thing. I don't understand that. Is that an offensive thing?
Purchasing the original art or what?
Yeah, I mean, as far as what's going to happen with the original art. See, I've always been told that was kind of like a gray area.
So, I mean, okay, as a creator personally, with my character, I want to own the third-party originals of these characters. So I include that in my question, be like, hey, if you're interested, I'd like to know, 1, what the actual job would cost, but 2, what the original would net me. And if it's out of my price range, it's out of my price range. Unfortunately, I pay for the job, and that cover is theirs to do whatever they want. They can fucking burn it, sell it, throw it away. I don't care. If I can't have it, somebody else will. Right. That's not an insulting question to ask at all. It's always worth asking if you can, if there's a way you can get the original of your character. I don't know who would tell you that that's some kind of insulting thing to ask a guy, because it's an important question. Is hey, what do you charge for that original art? If anything, that's actually really respectful, because it shows that you would also like to own it and not just use it for your own needs.
Now, I know
now,
on my
some
first
guys would go and flip it as part of the campaign, and that's another area that you would immediately need to disclose. But if it's for your own personal collection, it's always worth asking, because you never know how they're going to respond. You know what I mean?
I know on my first book, I actually had one of my cover artists put the original art on the Kickstarter, and we basically split the profit from it. But he wanted to put it on that Kickstarter, which was great, and it sold for a big amount. I was kind of surprised, so I didn't realize the cost for original art as opposed to the cost of the art of it, and what was yours and what was not. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's always going to be a difference. I mean, because it's our product, it's our property. You know what I mean? It's your IP, but it's our physical piece, so we can do whatever we want with it. And a lot of guys generally are going to charge more for that hand-drawn original than for the job itself, because the job itself is going to get printed and replicated, and at that point it's your image, so you can use it however you want, technically speaking. Like, you could take my cover, for instance, and print that shit for 10 years. I only get to charge you for it one time. So that original might cost a little bit more, because at that point it's gone. It's no longer in my hands. And so a lot of guys treat that shit differently. You know what I mean? But it's still worth asking, you know, but always disclose what you're going to do with it.
Right.
No matter what. If it's going to be just for a cover, or if you plan on using it further, I would always ask your artist if they're okay with that, because some guys might charge you more if they know that you're going to use it for not only a cover, but cards, posters, a variant cover, the trade paperback cover, this, that, and the other. Even though you're allowed to do so, it's kind of a courtesy that you would still pay them a little bit more if you're going to use it multiple times. And so that area is kind of gray, and it's a lot of specifics that you need to be transparent about with your artists.
And this is definitely like the information that I want people to know, because going into creating comics, you don't really hear about it or think about this stuff. You don't realize that. Yeah, you don't realize that you're paying for the art, and you can make a poster, you could put it on T-shirt, but sometimes it's nice to go to that artist to be, hey, this is what I'm going to do with it. If you don't mind, I just kind of want your permission, kind of thing. It is a little respectful. It
is a lot of respect. So if you ever listen to, like, say, a guy like McFarlane talk about one of the many contributing reasons to why he left Marvel was the lack of royalties and respect regarding merchandising involving his art. You know, one thing he likes to say is, oh, if you're going to make a Spider-Man T-shirt, you think I could at least get a couple of those.
Right.
You know what I mean? Money's a whole nother conversation, but can I at least get the product? So if you have plans to use something for years to come, or for this, that, and the other, you should at least let them know, so that they're like, okay, that's cool. Or, hey, if you're going to do that, can I at least get a couple of those? You know, that's a very, 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 very respectful thing to ask. And most artists would actually really appreciate that you're taking the time to ask them that, and that you care enough to ask them that, because most guys wouldn't. They would just be like, well, I fucking paid for it, so I'm going to use that shit to the end of the earth. There are guys that print covers that were produced 30 years ago, and they just keep recoloring it and recoloring it and recoloring it. And they've made fucking 30 different print runs of one particular image that fans keep buying. I won't specify who, but there's a few different guesses as far as who it could be and what this image is. But it's his entire right to do so, because he paid for the job. But it's kind of fucked up to make money off the same thing 30 different times.
Yeah. So
because the person involved will never see those additional profits.
Yeah. So I actually had a cover on one of my books, And I had went to the artist and said, hey, I'm going to make 3 variants of this one cover, but I'm going to use different colors on each one. And he was kind of opposed to it at first. And I tried to explain to him, it's going to be a limited run. Like each one of them is only going to be about 30 each. And he was like, oh, so you're not just going to print hundreds and hundreds of them? And I was like, no, one's going to be limited for a Kickstarter run. One's going to be limited to Indiegogo run. And then the other one was going to be just sold at the table. And because of the fact that I told him and came to him and said, this is what I was going to do, he was okay with it. You know, it was one of those things that I really wanted to make sure he was okay with before I did it. And I don't think a lot of new creators understand that.
No,
you know, don't. Yeah.
And
so
it's going they don't listen and they don't learn. That's just the unfortunate brutality. And also, the resources to learn this stuff kind of don't exist necessarily anymore, unless you go and ask the guys that have been doing this shit for 25 to 30 years and up. There aren't magazines anymore with interviews. You know, you got fucking online interviews that you can sit there and read, but there's nothing to flip through anymore where guys really go in depth and tell you the ins and outs of things. There's tons of great resources that go 20 years back that you could actually read through that'll give you better insight than any shit you could read online that didn't come directly out of someone's mouth.
Right.
And that's the thing. Too many guys are scared to approach somebody. You need to approach your vets, man. And by vets, I mean your 20-year comic book pros. Because one, you're going to gain a little bit of respect from them. But two, they're going to appreciate that there's a little bit of a future and a little bit of hope left out there for the future of independent comics or whatever. Yeah. And that they have the balls to go and ask you these ins and outs. Even if they don't like what you do, they'll probably give you answers simply because you ask. Like I said, never hurts to ask shit, man. The worst thing you can hear is no and fuck off.
Exactly. I mean, and in this industry, you do have a lot of creators that don't want to work with independents, and that's fine. But seriously, if you ask people, you're going to find a lot of the answers. A lot of people are helpful. Like I said, the first editor that I worked with was an Eisner Award-winning editor, and he held my hand through a lot of this stuff. Now, granted, like I said, the reason I'm making this series is because there's a lot of stuff that people didn't want to talk about, and I felt like there were a lot of stone walls that I hit that I want to make sure that new creators aren't going to hit the same ones, and that's the whole reason that I'm making this. I appreciate everything you said. Is there any Kickstarters that you're on currently? Is there anything you want to promote? How do people get a hold of you?
Instagram. I really need some nice love on Instagram. It's literally just _Gabriel_Mangum. Just look up fucking Gabriel Mangum. You'll see my face. You'll see my art plastered all over that wall. I don't want to say that I desperately need followers, but goddamn, I really need some fucking love on that because out of the almost 500 people that are on there, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, I get like fucking 10 likes per post. It's really defeating. So, you know, support your artists. You can add me on Facebook and follow what I do. I haven't hit my friends cap yet, so we're totally good on that. There's a backer kit going for my action figure, which I don't know if you remember that, but I designed Breacher for Operation Recall, and so this is actually currently in the finalization process with Mark Pennington, one of the original G.I. Joe designers. So the backer kit's basically a glorified pre-order, and that's running until I want to say like July, but that's me as an action figure, you guys.
You know you are not the only Gabriel Mangum on Instagram.
Yeah, but I'm the most recognizable. I'd like to point that out.
Dude, when I just typed your name in, somebody else came up first.
But did they have my face?
No. Actually, we can't see your face because you're bent over drawing. That's how I knew it was you.
Well, I
just followed you, dude. There we go. Let me drop this link in.
There's an ominous cameo right there.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's my brother.
Double trouble, you guys.
Brother from another mother. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Everybody,
Paul, you going to be at Fan Festival this weekend?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be at Cowtown now.
Damn, we're on the opposite schedule then, brother, because we're going to be at Fan Fest, but not Cowtown.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I've been working a weekend job, and it's not letting up until the weekend after, and I'm hitting a lot of conventions afterwards. Hitting Laredo after that, and then Abilene after that.
All right.
For those of you who don't know, this is Gabriel's father, Andrew, and somebody that I met 5 years ago.
Very long time ago.
Yeah, it's
Feels like
been a
yesterday.
while. He was one of the first people I was like, yeah, this dude's badass. You know, I'm one of the first people I'd cheerleading for way back in the day. And look at me now.
So Paul, I'm looking forward to your second issue of your book.
Yeah, I just went to print.
My cover,
Yeah.
but, you know.
His cover kicked ass. So
I got
Yeah,
it.
it did.
Dave Kemp
got it.
kicked ass. I'd like to point that out. Hey, and you know, Paul, that's another thing a lot of creators need to understand is books are a team effort, and you need to thank
Yes.
every motherfucker involved.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
A lot of guys are made by their colors, and you know, for some things I do, I'm definitely not an exception to that rule. So Dave Kemp did a fucking killer job on that Bushi cover. I'd just like to say that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And give credit to your colorists too.
Yeah.
A lot of
Every
guys
time
are just
we
like,
talk
yeah,
about it-
they just color. No, they can make that fucking
Yeah.
Let
yeah,
me
I
be
see
real
too
with
many
you
fucking
guys,
new
right?
artists. I see too many fucking new artists. These cover fucks that draw line art, and they depend on colorists to fill in all the pretty colors and make the colors, makes the covers look special, and then they take all the fucking credit when the colors saved them.
And then they fucking forget their names on a live stream.
So
Yeah. You know,
That's
I
fucked
totally
up.
agree.
I just want to say, you guys, the whole time that we promoted Paul's book, he definitely gave his team credit.
And that's what I like about Paul. Paul's a good
Thank
guy,
you.
and he puts
Thank
together
you.
a good book, and he always promotes his team. This guy knows what's up, and he knows how to do it.
well, and
thank
Paul,
you.
I like the quality of your first book too. You gave a shit about the production, the
Thank
coloring
you.
looks good, the art looks good. I'm not one for stories. I'm a dyslexic fucking poor kid growing up, so I didn't care about
You and me
writing. I
both.
cared about fancy artwork. So the
Yeah.
first thing I looked at was the artwork and the paper quality. So I mean that drew me to your book. So keep making the fucking product you're making. I don't think you get enough fucking love, Paul, by people in the circles. So I want you to fucking get more love, and I want your product to get fucking pushed. That's why I'm glad he did a cover and he can encourage your fucking book.
Yeah, so guys, if you don't follow me, at least follow Paul Gomez on all of his platforms, because he's a good guy, and you need to fucking follow him in everything that he does, because he's doing some cool shit, and it's not boring.
And
That's just
you know
one
what
thing I'd
else?
really like to say. Paul, you have a good presentation that's not fucking boring. Thank you for putting together a good book. I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
just
I
wanna say,
appreciate it.
when you two, as a father-son team, get ready to start doing the draw stream online, bring it to my network.
I got to get a better setup for that. I think we said that on the last stream that we're in.
And I'm going to keep hounding you about it, man, because I want the first father-son draw stream in freaking comics.
I don't know, dude. A lot of people might get offended by my work. It depends on what I'm drawing for y'all.
Is it the work or a word?
I don't know.
That's a tough ship to sail.
I got Rich Perotta out here drawing flapper girls on Sundays. I ain't worried about what you draw. Bro.
See, again, it's not what we draw. It's what we might say.
That's okay. You know?
Hey, Paul, real quick, just to boast you again, I'm glad that you listen to criticism and listen to what people are telling you. I've come into this, like, I raised him a certain way with his artwork, and people are always like, man, why you're so critical of your children? I'm like, no, I push my children to be better than me. I've told you this before, Pops. It's my job to make him better than me. So many of these young creators now, and this is where I'm complimenting you, Paul, you take advice and you want to make your product better, and you listen to what guys that have been doing this longer than you give you advice. So you can take the advice or you can fucking walk away from it. I came into the industry where creators that took me under their wing basically told me I fucking suck, and they pushed me to get better, and I could either cry about it or I could get better. New creators, you tell them things they should work on, and they get all fucking ass hurt, and they think they're fucking amazing. They think they're fucking Frank Miller. They think they're McFarlane because they have, 20 followers, or they have 20 people that loyally buy their books. That's shit. That's nothing, They need to push themselves to be the best they can, and that's something I love about your book is it looks good. It made me want to read it because it looked good. The fancy artwork is what's going to draw these people in. It's kind of like an attractive female. You want them to look good so you can learn more about them. You know what I mean?
And thank you for the advice that you've given me. I know I've came to you at least once or twice Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it.
So, all right, I'm gonna bounce. You guys keep talking to Gabriel. I'm gonna go make dinner because I'm a single dad and I'm all about my kids. So,
Thank you.
Be cool, Andrew. You know what's up.
He does. You know, he was just kind of sitting there for the past like 5 minutes before he came on camera. He's just waiting for a good window to jump in.
It's always a good time to jump in.
I wish I
Yeah,
had
dude.
known
You
that.
know,
I had
you got
an
a
intro
dynamic
that-
tag team right there.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Like I said, I want to be the first person with the show that has a father-son art team with two badass artists. You know,
Well,
nobody else
Me,
has.
me and Andrew, we've got some plans going into 2023 that I think you guys are both gonna really dig.
Good.
So,
Because I got no plans but to get bigger and bigger and bigger, man.
oh, so do we.
We
Yeah.
just pretty much aligned ourselves with the Dorkening, which is a network that's about twice our size, maybe a little bigger than twice our size. So that puts us real close to the Roku channel wheelhouse. If you hear me talking, we're actually trying to build a network, not I want to build a good YouTube channel. No, we're trying to build a freaking comics network. You know, so I think we're on the right track, man. I think it's all rolling good. So, you know, I think everybody's going to help each other. I told Paul a little bit about what we got planned for our 2023. And, you know, it's a lot bigger than anything I ever thought of before. I never had the luxury of thinking big before. Now I can. So
So I'm excited to hear more about
Yeah.
it, without a doubt.
you'll hear because I'll end up on your doorstep, bro. Dallas Fan
Hey,
Expo.
maybe give me a warning first before you
Well,
hit the door.
Dallas Fan Expo.
I live in Texas, Pops. That's not always a great sign.
I know where you live, brother. You aren't quite you. I don't think you're quite in the know, though, are you? Let me give you a little hint.
Is it about the van?
Yeah, the RV. Yeah. Let me give you a little hint. We going places next year. So yeah, no, it's all good, man. We've already planned out a little test drive here before the end of the year, where we also get to network in person with the people from the Dorkening and iron out some details on building the network. And then by the first of the year, we should be launching something that's bigger than anything I could have ever fucking dreamed of, dude. I ain't lying. It's like, wow, things are just falling into place. So,
Wait.
you know,
Yeah.
next year we're gonna be on the road for sure. You know,
All right, Pops, let's go ahead and cap this off. Let's get through these commercials. I wanted to talk to Gabriel about one or two things. Give him that name that he was asking about.
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
tell Pops to say hi. You can say hi in just a minute. We're closing it out. My son wants to say hi to you, Pops.
Well, let him stick his little face on in
Oh.
here.
Hey, we gotta come here.
Come on.
My light's not even on.
There's another father-son team I'm looking
What?
forward to. You see, because you know this. You know his son's going to turn into being part of this network too, right?
You want me to
Gabriel?
get a shirt?
Just go hi.
End up being a comic kid too.
Hello.
There he is. Yes,
Well,
it's the ringmaster himself. Yes. What's up, brother?
Yeah.
Oh, he ain't got no shirt on. That's
No.
why he's afraid.
Can't afford a shirt? No, I got home and I was all sweaty. It's working
Everybody,
out.
this is our cosplayer extraordinaire from the book Bushy Boo Circus.
The one and only.
He's a mystery. He's styling, yo. Gabriel, you met this guy?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? He goes with Paul to some of the shows and actually cosplays that guy you drew.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. He's got
go
the
to
outfit
most-
and everything. He's like, yeah. That's why we make him come out here and embarrass himself live.
You tell them about your ideas with the songs.
Yeah, I think I told him about that last time.
Well, my dad's gonna get me a different costume, and it's gonna be Elvis. And so he's gonna make me sing one of the songs, and then I have to sing another song from The Greatest Showman.
There you go. Good. Good. Looking forward to that. All right. It's good to see you, youngster. You stay in line. You know I love you and your dad, man, and the rest of your family. And the same with you, Gabriel. You and your dad and the rest of your family, man. I love family units that are tight about comics and believe in the next generation of comics and all those things.
Oh, it'll crash and burn if there's not a new generation.
Exactly. You guys are pretty much the epitomes of what I promote, both your families. So what is it about Texans, yo?
We're the best. Everything's bigger in Texas. That's all it is.
We're just a lot better in Texas. That's just the simple ins and outs of it.
Hey, I can't argue, man. Where I was born went to hell. So, Minnesota, I don't know what happened, yo. Don't know what happened. But yeah, with that, we're gonna go ahead and roll on out of here. Thank you so much, Gabriel. Paul, great show.
For sure.
Dude, go get a shirt on.
Yeah.
You don't make all the ladies crazy, youngster. What are you gonna do? Y'all have a great night.
You
Peace.
too, brother. Thanks for having me on. It's always great talking.
You bet.
Your favorite podcast is Critical Plus.
America's southern border has become a war zone. Human traffickers, drug smugglers, and terrorists flow across the Rio Grande with impunity, secure in the knowledge that no one will stop them. A distant federal government lectures Americans on their privilege while punishing overworked Border Patrol agents who were helpless to stem the tidal wave of invaders and determined migrants. Second-generation Cuban-American Marcos Zamora is a military vet, more patriotic than most Americans. No longer able to ignore the chaos at his doorstep, he acts. Joined by his best friend Gus, they hit the border every night, saving lives while stopping violent drug cartels and other opportunists. The government reacts with fury at Marcos' attempts to preserve American sovereignty, deploying the full might of their enforcement agencies. But Marcos understands that the only thing the rich and powerful fear is bad publicity, and he records every encounter. Whoever he is, this private American must be stopped. Illustrated by Richard Bonk and written by Eisner winner Mike Barron, Private American is his version of Captain America, and maybe a little Punisher, taking part in this ongoing, violent, and very real battle of good versus evil in the war for American sovereignty. Grab your copy at theprivateamerican.com.
We have a secure border, and that is a priority for our administration.
What?
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit CB